prayer. All right, Madam VP.
Yes, please.
Short prayer, please.
God, let us pray. Dear Jesus, we thank you once again for this morning, your abundant blessings endured on us. Thank you for our Akisan family, your continuous hands of protection, holding us and leading us, giving us wisdom as we journey to make this association a better organization. And Lord, we come into this roadshow, we ask that every presentation be guided with wisdom and knowledge, and we will benefit from the knowledge from there to see how to get things, the processes for these organizations to work better. Thank you for you taking us somewhere in Akisan. And we just ask you to bless this time of our meeting and make it to be very productive. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you very much, Madam National Vice President. For those who are joining for the first time, this is the fifth biannual roadshow of Akisan USA. We typically have this twice a year, the month prior to each council meeting. And the purpose is to reach the general membership directly. In other words, you get to learn what we're going to talk about, deliberate upon, and in some cases vote when it comes to the council meetings in November and April. It started in the first term of my administration, and we're carrying it over to this term. I would also like to start off by thanking everyone on this call and general membership for the support that you've given this administration over the last 2 years. This is the first time that we're going to have as an association a second term. So I ask that everyone be patient and support us as usual, cooperate with us to make sure that this second term is equally a success as the last one. This is being recorded, so in case you want to listen to it again or share with people, or you're coming in late, you can always go back and refer to the previous ones. And all the other four are also online on our website, www.akisan.org. If you click the About tab under Portfolio and Committees, there is a table there that has the recordings of the last four. So if you want to, you can listen to them as well. We try to keep this to 2 hours or under. And this one might even be shorter because I think for the most part, we took care of a lot of stuff in the first 2 years. So this one should be much shorter in my opinion, but we'll see. I'll start off making announcements. Number one, we have our medical mission coming up this month, October 16th, in about 8 days to October the 22nd. It's going to be in 3 local government areas, Itu, Udran, and Udonguko. We are looking for volunteers and also for donations. Those who have donated already and have volunteered, we thank you. There is a WhatsApp group for the medical mission. If you'd like to participate, please let me know and I'll have you added to that chat room. I'm posting my phone number for those who do not have it, although it's also on our website, akisan.org. So I'll just put it in there. Based on the business meeting at the convention this past August, the association will write letters for those who volunteers, because you have to pay your way to and fro, but that expense you can write off on your taxes. So once you come back, you present what you spent, and then we'll issue letters to that effect, so that come, I guess, between January, April of next year, you can now use that to file your taxes. So again, October 16th to 22nd, looking forward to a very successful medical mission. Number two, our vocational training. Cosmetology should have started this Monday, but the trainer had called me on Thursday to say that she's still wrapping up with another group that she had started with 3 months ago. And so she asked that it be pushed to Monday, October 17th. So it's now going to be 2 Mondays from now, not this coming Monday. It's $180. It's a 3-month program. Classes are daily for those 3 months, and all vocational trainings for now are in Uyo. While I was in Nigeria, I did contact a few people in the other senatorial districts, because I know that it is difficult, especially in your what I would call the hinterlands, to commute to you every day. So I'm going to be reaching out to those vendors. And of course, like we normally do, there'll be a Zoom meeting. You talk to them, interact with them, ask your questions. If you're comfortable, then you can send your people there. And the way it works is typically in the past, so Akisan, we usually like have, fundraiser at the convention, and then we'd set up committees and criteria for sponsoring people. But because of COVID 2 years ago, we come up with this new approach. And actually, in my opinion, it has been more popular. So you get to sponsor who you want. So for example, someone might donate money, say they want to train all women, it's their money, right? You want to sponsor people from your village, again, it's your money. So we noticed that the response has been very, very positive. In fact, more positive than the way we normally do things. And so we've decided to keep that model. So for the cosmetology, again, it's October 17th. It's in its fourth batch. It will be starting its fourth batch that day. The IT will be November 14th. So that's the Monday after council meeting, which is November 12th. That's a 6-month program. If the person has a laptop or you're going to buy them one, it's $350. If they do not have a laptop, based on, in fact, I asked the trainer as of the time I was in Nigeria, a decent used laptop in Rio at least is about equivalent of $500. So then it'll be $850. But if you want to buy them one or send them money to buy, that's fine. But if you don't, it'll be $850. Then the school will give them that $500 to go buy the laptop for themselves. And for those who don't know, at the latest Akwa Ibom anniversary gala, our trainer, Mr. Hanson Johnson, was actually given an award by the state government for everything he's doing technology-wise in the state. So that to me speaks volumes. Of course, I've known him for 10 years plus, so I knew what he was capable of, but for the state to recognize him, that to me speaks volumes. Again, that'll be in November. And then upcoming will be fashion design. I'm still vetting the few people that I met while I've been talking to them over the past year, but there will be an announcement soon to that effect. And again, there'll be a Zoom meeting to talk to whoever that is going to present to us. And by the way, if you have any questions at any point, please let me know, raise your hand. There's a co-host here. Actually, we have 2 co-hosts, and they will alert me in case I miss you. Our council meeting, first council meeting of this fiscal year, is coming up Saturday, November 12th in San Francisco. I believe it's the first time since Ontario 2019 that any national event has gone to the West Coast. You're strongly encouraged, if you've not already, to buy your tickets. As we know, airfare in particular is very high. Room rates are $109. And of course, this information is also on our website. The agenda has just been released to the EXCO for vetting before we release it to the council for any additions. At the council meeting, sorry, among others, we will be presenting the 2022 convention numbers. We'll also be voting for the venue of the 2023 National Convention. And Mr. and Ms. Akisan will also be presenting in a more official way their projects that they're going to be implementing over the next, call it 12 months. Of course, there'll be other things to be discussed there, for example, policy and constitution changes, and we'll go through those today. But yeah, these are like some of the highlights of that council meeting. There will be a Zoom option so that for those, especially non-council members who want to join, they can do so through Zoom. But of course, council members are expected to be there in person. And then the Akwa Ibom Quarterly Magazine has been revamped, and the physical copies are here. Some of them are with me. I'm going to be mailing the rest to San Francisco. So those who are in attendance can buy it there. And then for chapter members who want copies, you can have your chapter president bring those copies for you. That'll be $10. But if you want it to be mailed to you, which I can do right now, it'll be $15, including the shipping and the handling. It's 40 pages. The first run is, I think, 300 copies. We're planning to make this more consistent. The introductory rate is the $10. But beginning next year, we're going to go into a subscription model where you can either buy for the whole year, that's 4 copies, That'll be $15 per copy, so $60. Or if you want to keep on buying one at a time, it'll be $20. But for now, the introductory rate is $10. Buy it for yourselves, your family, especially people who are not of Akwa Ibom State origin, those who are thinking of joining. Buy for your chapter, buy for your community. And let's see how it goes. And then, of course, we will make this a more permanent feature. And then, last but not least, before we go into the actual topics of the day, we have several partners. This administration, as I mentioned 2 years ago, is always looking for ways to, I would say, complement or substitute the donations that we make in person. I always feel that we're always taxing ourselves to death. So it's about time that we always look for avenues for, be it other nonprofit organizations, corporations, individuals, to help substitute that money. Because as I always say again, many of us who had started off this thing many, many years ago, in our language, we say, right? So we need to find other avenues. So I've been doing that for the past 2 years. Currently, there's an app called TapTap Send. It's just like SendWave for those who send money to Nigeria, for example. I started using it right after the convention, and I can say I've not used SendWave again. It's very convenient, very fast. You have option of sending in Naira, sending in dollars. If you've not used it before, download the app, put in the code Akisan22, Akisan22, and you get $10 added to your first transaction. So that's TapTap Send. We've also had a few others over the last 2 years. Another one is Sgrx. It's just like the RX card that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, where you take it to your local pharmacy. You can do the comparison between your insurance, or if you don't have insurance, on Sgrx. If Sgrx is cheaper, use that. We get some, what do you call it? We get some money from that organization based on, how much is being saved. So that's Sgrx. Another one is called Diaspo Care. Diaspo Care is an app that allows you here in the United States to order prescription drugs for your loved ones in Nigeria. And it's affiliated with, I think, at least 6,000 government-approved pharmacies in Nigeria. So you can either set it up like in a subscription basis where every month money is deducted from your account, and they just go and pick up the medication at their local pharmacy, or you can do it on a per case basis. It's up to you. But again, the advantage is, instead of you, for example, sending them, I don't know, I'm just saying $10, right? You can, within the app, order the medication. They go and pick it up wherever they may be. And again, we get something back from this organization per account that is created. And then last but not least, we have the Sir Life International Brass Band. This is a brass band that is in Akwa Ibom State. Let me admit a few people here real quick, sorry. And so if you employ their services, you get a 5% discount if you mention Akisan. So these are a few of the partners that we have right now. Of course, State Farm had donated a total of $9,000 to our convention last year. And we're looking always for even more sponsors. So if you know of anybody, any corporation, any, I don't know, nonprofit organization, any individual willing to donate to our cause, we would really appreciate that. So thank you very much. I don't know if there are any questions. You can put it again either in the chat room. You can ask now, raise your hand, or you can call, later. But answer questions at any time. So now we'll go into the main topics of the day.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. I don't see any hands up, but I did have a question.
Okay.
Actually, more of a recommendation.
Okay.
First, thank you for your 5th annual roadshow, and greetings everybody for joining. I wanted to go back to the medical mission.
Yes.
One of the things that we put in place to help with reconciling medical mission expenses is the budgeting template. And so really asking, I don't know if the medical mission chair is on the call or not, but let's make sure we get that template from the Finance and Budget Committee to lay out the plan as we go into the medical mission on the financial template, such that we could reconcile. It helps with budgeting and expensing, expensing the expenses once the team returned from the medical mission. So it was a best practice we put in place. I just want to make sure the team's leveraging that best practice. Thanks.
Definitely. So I did talk to the chair, Dr. Catherine Teckham, about the template. If you don't mind, because I'm sure you've shared it, but I don't have it with me. If you don't mind, send it to me privately in WhatsApp. I'll forward it to her and make sure that she understands how it works, at least before she leaves for the medical mission.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I have a question, please.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Mr. President. My question is on the one of the sponsors against the TapTap send thing.
Yes.
I've been using it a lot, at least twice a week, but my confusion is there's also floating around the Women one. Which one are we using, and which one does the association get credit for? I'm confused there.
Okay, yes, good question. So the one for which Akisan gets credit is the code Akisan 22, Akisan 22.
Okay.
And I believe,
but you only get credit once, though. But you still, how do they know that that when you use it, you are on behalf of Akisan?
Yes. So the way it works is when you log in for the very first time, assuming you're a first-time customer, you enter that code. So now you are logged against Akisan. So anytime you use it, they already know that it's an Akisan affiliated account, and then we get something back from that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have a question regarding that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, I know everybody's singing praise of this. I've been trying to use this thing, and it went out. It says that the service, I called the line and they told me, oh, we're not, for over 1 week, the service was out. So I don't know if this is anybody experienced that, but that has been my experience with the TapTap. I don't know if I'm using the wrong one, but I went to the link that was given. So I'm not sure how often this is working or this is breaking down.
Well, I guess we can talk about it offline, but I used it yesterday twice. I didn't have any issues.
I haven't had any issues either. Like I said, I use it twice a week at least.
What is it they're using?
But yeah, let's talk about it offline. Maybe we do a video call and hopefully
all right, okay, no problem. Yeah, all right, thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, about the TapTap, it's just a quick information here.
Yes.
Probably this was covered before, but it doesn't work in Texas yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. There are 7 states.
If you're in Texas, it would not work. And my experience has been, I don't know if it has to do with, I have not installed it on iOS, which is iPhone, but on Android phones, typing on that stuff is a really big pain. If they could fix that, I actually sent a message to them about that.
Okay.
Anyway, so.
If you don't mind, the note you sent to them, put it in the chat room so I can copy and talk to the person directly too. And I do apologize. There are 7 states because of, I think, some regulatory issues. They're not operating in those 7 states right now. And I'll fish it out and post in the chat room as well. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, good morning, everyone. Mr. President, Dinah here from LA. May I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
We sung it more. And Mr. President, thank you for this 5th roadshow.
Yes.
The last speaker, I had no idea who that was. Would you please advise that everybody introduce, at least mention their name when you want to speak? That would help. Thank you.
That makes perfect sense.
I'm sorry, my name is Basi Obot.
And I believe you're in Dallas?
Yes, Dallas, from Dallas.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, so please, whenever you speak, your name and I guess location, that will help. Thank you. Thanks for that observation. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, and again, like I said, the chat room is available. Feel free to post. I've seen 2 posts so far. I'll be addressing those very soon. All right, so topic number 1, there are going to be a few policy constitution changes. Unfortunately, the chair of that committee, Mr. Hewitt, is not here, but he did ask me to present what will be coming down the pipeline for discussion and voting. Engineer Kiko, can you share the PDF? And I will stop sharing now. Okay. Engineer Kiko, are you there?
Yeah, give me a second, Mr. President. Let's
All right.
pull that up. It's coming up now.
Okay.
You see it?
Not okay. I see it now, and I assume everyone else can see it as well. So if this, by the way, you may not, I don't expect you to have it, but if you do, it's on page 86 of the convention booklet from this past August, but this is the page that was on there. And this is what we're going to be, well, the Constitution Committee will be presenting at that council meeting. So number 1 is regarding the selection of the legal counsel. In the past, national president would present people and then the council or convention would then vote on it. So now they're recommending a different process. I'm just going to read it. It's not long. So restructure office of legal counsel to comprise of 2 qualified attorneys to serve as a lead and associate counsel. The following process shall be followed to select and confirm candidates for office of legal counsel. Number 1, Board of Trustees shall select and screen candidates for lead counsel. Qualification criteria for selection shall be specified in the Constitution. Number 2, Board of Trustees, in collaboration with the lead counsel, shall select and screen candidates for associate counsel. Number 3, Akisan National Council shall confirm both the lead and associate counsel with a simple majority vote prior to the candidate taking office. And number 4, confirmation shall occur at the first National Council meeting post-convention after officers have been sworn in. Confirmation can also occur via emergency National Council meeting, duly called as prescribed in the Constitution. So again, in particular, the reason for the lead and associate is because, at least I'm going to go back 10 years here. Many a times, because we only have the 1 lead counsel, maybe something comes up on a personal level or, overwhelmed or they just drop out, then we're in a situation where we do not have a legal counsel. So by having the associate, and of course, that should hopefully mitigate that issue where the lead is not available, the associate is. So this is again something that will be discussed at the council meeting. Currently in the Constitution, the way it is set up, like I said, I believe it's the Electoral Committee. They will set up the criteria, and then, of course, we'll be voting on that accordingly. The second issue is that of internal auditor. So restructure internal auditor's office to comprise of 2 qualified accountants to serve as lead and associate internal auditors. The following process shall be followed to select and confirm candidates as internal auditor. Number 1, both the lead and associate auditor shall be selected and screened by the Board of Trustees. Qualification criteria for selection shall be as directed in the Constitution and further specified in the Akisan Financial Manual. Number 3, Akisan National Council shall confirm all internal auditors with a simple majority vote prior to the candidate taking office. And number 4, confirmation shall occur at the second National Council meeting after year end. Confirmation can also occur via an emergency council meeting duly called as prescribed in the Constitution. So if you've noticed, for the first 2, auditor and the legal counsel, as opposed to the president being the one to, I guess, be the all-in-all in terms of recommendations and appointments, responsibility is now being shifted to the Board of Trustees. Number 3, regarding alternative dispute resolution processes. So we want to modify the language to require an alternative dispute resolution process with mediation and or arbitration in case of potential litigation with members or chapters. If you are familiar with the current constitution, basically there's a conflict resolution process. And so whereby whoever goes there is not satisfied, they can, if they choose, go to litigation. So that, in the opinion of the committee, is pretty weak. Okay, sorry, Bassi Simon. Okay, I'll attend to that later. Because it's like that's the only process, but we're hoping that by adding requiring mediation and or arbitration, all these issues can be resolved or at least addressed through like the American legal process before the member or chapter goes through, to the next step. So no more like, okay, we have a committee, you don't like it, you go to court if you want, but by requiring these extra steps, hopefully that will, what do you call it? It will prevent most of these, I'm going to call them lax or unnecessary issues from cropping up. Then regarding a risk mitigation plan, that's number 4, adopt and fund liability insurance with directors and officers and non-owned auto coverage on an ongoing yearly basis. Coverage shall be no less than $1 million aggregate coverage, or as it shall be recommended by a trusted insurance professional and adopted by the Akisan National Council. And this one has actually been implemented. As we speak, we do have that liability coverage, and it is for $1 million. So again, we're hoping that, we're in America, quote unquote, unfortunately. So that before anyone thinks of taking us to court for whatever reason, we have this extra buffer here, up to $1 million. And then last but not least, this to me is more of a cosmetic thing, but right now we call it the Akisan Joint National Council meeting, because back in the day we had 2 council meetings. The first one was both the Board of Trustees and the council. And then the second one was one where the board was optional. So that's why the first one was always called Joint National Council meeting. So now, since the new constitution requires both bodies, actually 3 now, so EXCO, Council of Chapter Presidents, and the board to be in attendance for both council meetings, there's no need to call it a joint council meeting again. So we'll strike out the joint, and from now on, or whenever it's approved, it will be called Akisan National Council meeting. So those are the 5 issues that will be discussed, deliberated upon, and voted on at the council meeting in San Francisco next month. Are there any questions regarding this presentation? Any questions at all? Again, if not, if you don't want to voice them out here, put them in the chat room, contact me privately, and I can address any questions or issues that you may have. Thank you, Engineer Kiko, for sharing the document. Can you share the agenda again, Engineer Kiko? Thank you. So we'll go to the second part of the agenda, Mr. and Ms. Akisan USA project presentation. So for those who are not aware, a few of us went to Akwa Ibom State as part of the 35th anniversary celebrations. Mr. and Ms. Akisan were there. While they were there, they used the opportunity to look into areas that they would like to help the community out in terms of projects. Again, a more official presentation will be made at the council meeting, but again, this is a roadshow so that you know what they're going to do. Find out how you can support them. I did ask them to come for this roadshow to let everyone know what they intend to do. Mr. and/or Ms. Akisan, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, so please proceed.
Akwa Ibom is song.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Emmanuel Urabang and Ms. Akisan. I'll be speaking on behalf of both Mr. and Ms. Akisan in Yobong, who is not able to be present today. For starters, I would love to just appreciate the Akwa Ibom community, especially at this past convention. The support that was given was unmatched, like anything I've ever seen before. So special shout out to the Akwa Ibom community, and also with going home, it made me appreciate a lot more what you guys have been doing for your children here in the US, because a lot of times people would think that, oh, she's from America, she doesn't know anything. But they would be so shocked that I knew a lot more than what they thought. And that's because of every single one of you guys. So I deeply appreciate you guys for continuing your tradition, or our tradition here in the US, and allowing your children to still know where they come from. I also want to appreciate the team that came with us, the Akisan team that came with us, for guiding us and just exposing us to different things and supporting us. They put on an amazing presentation there in Akwa Ibom. And also a big thank you to Ms. Gloria Uda for being there with us and guiding us, preparing us for anything that may have come. So a very big appreciation to you all. Also, I'd like to thank both of our parents for coming to show up for us. That was not an easy trip and everyone took time out. So big thank you to my parent and his parents for being there. Now for our project that'll be back home, we have two separate projects, one for Akwa Ibom and one for the US, but both of them are involving youth or empowering the youth. For the one that is back home, our projects are pretty much similar but done in different places. So we're wanting to emphasize trades. And me personally, as I've gone home or even being here, I've realized that a lot of our people or a lot of our students and youth will go and they'll go and get college degrees, but a lot of times when they finish, they can't find a job. And even more recently, they've had this strike that's going on. So people are in school, but they can't complete their schooling. They can't graduate to now come and practice their jobs and things like that. So we're wanting to push out the ideas of people doing trades, because when you do trade, that's more of a supply and demand type of era. There's no way that you really you won't lack finances. So trades such as cosmetology, barbering, makeup artist, IT, as Uncle mentioned. And I had the special opportunity to go with Uncle Itoro to the site where they're doing the IT training. And I got to speak with some of the students. Some of the students did testimonies speaking on how far they've come from the beginning to where they didn't know much to now where they're towards their ending marks, and they feel very confident to be a developer. And only God knows how much opportunity that's open for them. And I encourage them to make sure that, they don't just reach for the skies just for themselves, but to also pull other people up in that area. That's our goal. We're not doing just one person empowerment, it's youth empowerment. Everyone must stand up. Everyone needs to be pulled up and have a helping hand. We have not gotten into our budget just yet. That's still a work in progress because we just got back. I just got back at least 2 days ago. So that's something that's still being worked on. Mr. Akwa Ibom specifically, he also wanted to supply school supplies for a school in his parents' village in dedication to his grandparents. And he also had proposals for the Akwa Ibom State Administration, which would be to encourage private companies in different sectors to reserve at least like 3 to 5 job openings for internships. And in trade, I guess the government can give like a tax credit to those companies, but just to have at least 2 or 3 jobs that'll help these students be trained while they're still in school and things of that sort. So they have experience when they now come out of school. And that goes along the same side for myself as well. These, the things that we're wanting to do, a lot of times people will do it in Uyo, like Uncle Itoro mentioned. Some of these things are going down in Uyo. But me personally, it was my first time being able to ever drive through my village and see what it looks like. And I want to give people an opportunity that are counted last, people an opportunity that are so far from Uyo. They won't be able to drive out to Uyo all the time. So I want to be able to bring opportunities inside into the village, inside to those people that lack the resources, because they also deserve a chance to also succeed and bring their fellow people up as well. These people also have to take care of their parents and family just as much as anyone in New York would. So I think we're both looking towards doing our projects more so within the village versus in the city. So we would definitely love support with that. We also have projects here in the US. With our project in the US, we are wanting to, again, empower the youth. We don't want our tradition or our heritage to die off or be watered down. We want to still embrace our heritage to full force. And we've seen that a lot of our leaders are of the older generation, and we need to make sure that our youth also are learning and being prepared to, carry this mantle to also continue this Akwa Ibom State Association 50, 60, 70 years from now and continuing. So we've been planning different events as far as how we can get the youth more involved. We're also learning that our language, for example, our language is a dying language. So one of the things that we've been planning is, for instance, phrases of the week, whereas we will state a phrase of the week and we'll post it on social media. So for example, the first one was abadie, and I would say it in a sentence and now come and translate it into English. And that will be posted for the week. And it gives an opportunity for people that follow to not only learn the language, but embrace our culture, whether they're from Akwa Ibom or not. We want to show the world Akwa Ibom, but also enrich our fellow Akwa Ibomites. So that's one thing that we plan on doing weekly. We also are trying to push back the thought of doing the, the youth retreat. So at least meeting once a year where all the youth will now come out to whatever said location it may be. And we would just be able to sit down, have a meeting, speak, discuss things, plan our future, plan what Akwa Ibom State will look like, what we want Akwa Ibom State to look like, because everyone has to feel as if their voice is being heard, especially if we want them to be involved. It's not a dictatorship. It's a community, and everyone's voice should be heard. Granted, we can't please everybody, but we'll still do our best to make sure everyone feels welcomed, everyone feels appreciated, everyone feels that their voice is heard to an extent. And that way we know that we have a better chance of keeping our youth involved, so that we can now matriculate from our youth to our adults, to our head leaders of Akisan. But again, I also want to appreciate the governor and the protocol people that were.
Grace, I think you are
Okay,
mute by
hear me?
mistake. Sorry, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to appreciate the governor and all the protocol people that helped us and aided us during our time in Akwa Ibom. They definitely made the trip a bit more easier. I'll say that there was a lot of support from them, and I thank them for inviting us to the different events. We got to see so much that the governor had done or has done during his time. There was a number of roads that you can tell were just brand new roads, and we were very appreciative to witness that. Like I mentioned before, our budget is still in the works, and so a more detailed presentation will be provided during our council meeting in November, which we will both be present at. So I look forward to seeing you guys there, and thank you for taking the time out to listen to my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Akisan. So proud of what you guys did while we were there in Akwa Ibom. Looking forward to projects that you'll be implementing both in the US and in Akwa Ibom State. Are there any questions for Ms. Akisan at this time? And by the way, before you ask, sorry, in case you're not monitoring the chat room, I did put 4 links on there. One of them is the list of US states where TapTap Send is currently working. Also put a link to order your copies of Akwa Ibom. I also put a link for you to donate to the Mr. and Ms. Akisan USA projects. And then last but not least, I did put in a link for the constitutional changes coming up that I already, we've already talked about, but I put the links there as well. Mr. Basiokun says, give me information about the ICT in Akwa Ibom. I'd like to sponsor somebody. I really appreciate that. I will be doing that. I have your WhatsApp number here, so I'll definitely be reaching out to you. I'll also put it in the chat room for everyone else to see. So thank you. Are there any questions from Ms. Akisan at the moment?
Mr. President, I don't see any hands up, but I did have one really comment and suggestion, if I could.
Yes, please.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Ms. Akisan, for the update. Very nicely done. And thanks, congratulations on a terrific trip to Nigeria. Question on the phrase, phrase of the day or phrase of the week. You said you're going to be posting it on social media. One thought is we do have a lot of different Akisan forums as well. And so one recommendation is to maybe connect with some of the folks to make sure that that information is cascaded across a lot of our different platforms for those who are not following where you're going to be putting it at. So just a suggestion.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Mr. Pryor, I see your hand up. Bassi out of Dallas has his hands up.
Yes, Mr. Bassi Simon. Mr. Simon, proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation, Ms. Ibom. I was very pleased with the after attending that convention and seeing the whole effort in getting this Ms. Ibom. So thank you so much for taking the opportunity to actually lead here. I really do like the concept of the language that you're talking about. I want to suggest maybe probably as part of this, since Akisan already have all these social media platforms, maybe using like creating maybe a YouTube channel specifically for the language thing, so you can share it from that YouTube channel so that people can actually go back there to actually see the previous ones. So basically you start from the channel and then you cascade it through the others so that people always connect back to that little YouTube channel. And I mean, voicing it as part of it would also be very helpful because it's easier to read, but if you can actually voice it out and people hear it and that channel, then I think that would really make a good impact. I hear a lot of programs you're planning to do. That's great. I'm wondering if you're just at the beginning stages right now. I mean, are you thinking about streamlining it to just focus on one or two so that you can have a maximum impact? Because it's kind of easy to go through several programs at the end. You might not get the kind of impact you're looking for. It's something to consider as you're planning this. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Any more questions for Ms. Akisan?
Yes, please. Idera Panikot, Atlanta, Georgia. Mine is not a question per se. I just want to thank Ms. Ibom. Your trip home and what you were doing was just perfect. And I know that, like you said, you know a lot, even more than us that are from Akwa Ibom State. And I would like to suggest that when you start on the language issue, the parents too should encourage the children, because in Atlanta where I am, I do observe that when the children that are born here, if they stand up to say Akwa Ibom song, or they say anything in the vernacular, the parents will start laughing and the child will get so embarrassed and will not repeat it again. So sometimes the parents are the cause that our children don't want to speak the local dialect. So please, whatever you'll be doing about the language, talk to the parents also. Because some people that were born here, they can even speak the language better, maybe like you, but those that come in from Akwa Ibom, they just act like they don't even know. They don't want to speak. My parent has not, and then they will say, my parent has not thought I'm not from Africa. Sometimes I tell them, Africa is a continent. You are from Akwa Ibom State. We have to speak Akwa Ibom language. So, Mr. Kwabon, please try to, when you start with the language, you should try to talk to the parents also to encourage their children to accept the language. Our language is unique. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Auntie. I appreciate that.
Right, I guess I'll take maybe one more if applicable before we move on to the next item. Okay, before we go to the next item, which is the budget/finance committee updates, I had a couple more announcements, if you will. So number one, at the council meeting in San Francisco, we'll be sitting a new chapter, Akisan Piedmont chapter in North Carolina. This will be the second new chapter that will be seated. The first one was Katy, Texas. That was in New Jersey in April. And then secondly, this comes from the convention. For those who were there or were following, one of the items we had introduced was Akisan movie day, since it was during the day. We were partnering again with the partnerships with Association of Movie Producers, Akwa Ibom State chapter. And then we would split the proceeds 50-50. So it would be a means of fundraising for both Akisan and for them. So anyway, at the convention, about 40 people watched the movie. And so while I was in Akwa Ibom State, I did present them a check for the $200. The movie was $10 each. So for the $200. So while we were there, we discussed of ways to make our people in the diaspora in general watch our movies without waiting for annual conventions. And so the idea came up to create a platform, whether it's on our website or YouTube or Vimeo or wherever, where they would now upload these videos on a regular basis, and then you can watch these movies on demand. So that made sense to me, and that is something that we're going to look at implementing before the council meeting. That way, again, we're not waiting to watch one movie every year. If they have tons of movies, they just put them on there, host them, and then we can watch them on demand. I think that will also increase our awareness, and it will also expose our movies to even more people, not necessarily people from Akwa Ibom State. But again, we split the proceeds 50-50, and then it's a win-win for both of us. So look out for that very soon. All right, Engineer Kiko.
Mr. President, before that, I think Utuboro had his hands up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Take one more.
Mr. Utuboro. Are you on mute? I don't see him on the thing again.
He might have dropped off. Yeah, he had his hands up. So
okay. Hopefully he logs in again, and then we'll take the question. Okay, so let's go to the final item of the day, which is the budget/finance committee update.
all right, thank you, Mr. President. Engineer Kiko speaking. Again, this is on behalf of Budget and Finance Committee Chair, who couldn't be here today. Akisan BOT Treasurer, Dr. Tawan James, she's actually in Nigeria. So just a quick update for folks. First, here you can see the members of the Budget and Finance Committee. This member is constituted by a constitution. It's a member, Dr. Tawan James, who's the chair, and also the board treasurer, the vice chair, Ms. Lisa Kwenyong, who's the national treasurer, BOT treasurer, national treasurer. You got myself representing the council chapter president, the secretary, a national vice president, Madam Uwem Young is also a member, Madam Diana Fia, who's the deputy speaker of the council of chapter presidents, also a member. It has the Akisan auditor, who saw us part of the membership, and Madam Comfort Ekwenyong, also a membership representing the Board of Trustees. Madam Fun Moore, Washington, D.C. chapter president. And then we have two at-large members, so members out of the community, Engineer Son Ekwenyong, who's an at-large member supporting out of Detroit, and Ms. Antonia out of Research Triangle. The president gave the team terms of reference. This is what guides the process and engagement within the committee. And so at the October point of 2022, a lot of the actions in terms of reference have been completed. talk through some of those. First one was reviewing the Akisan accounting policies and internal financial controls, and really looking at how we, Akisan financial system and how we do financials today. That was completed. The second one was really working with the auditors and looking at auditors' reports. This is a critical piece of the association, and so that's still being worked, that's still being in process. Another term of reference was to look at and recommend an accounting system that has been completed with the recommendation of the Quickbooks application. Risk, looking at risk, Akisan's operation. President talked about an insurance, $1 million insurance to protect the Akisan litigation. That's completed as well. Coming up with number 5, templates to help drive the budgeting, approval, and more importantly, reconciling the budget at the end of projects. That's also been modified and added to our financial manual. And then the last one was really looking at other recommendations out of the committee. So one really great implementation in Akisan is the cloud-based Quickbooks financial system. The association continues to use that to incorporate all our finances. And more recently, the recent convention out of Charlotte, the update we had yesterday at the call from the the ESCO treasurer, that all the financials have been integrated into QuickBooks from the recent convention, and that will be demonstrated at the council meeting in San Francisco. We are looking at, now that this system has been in place and running, so we're looking at feedbacks from folks and from the team to make sure, is it doing all we set out for the application to do? But I think the big highlight is that all our financial tools, instruments have been integrated into QuickBooks, with the assets in Nigeria being integrated manually. Financial manuals, so budgeting templates. This is one where the team has put together templates. We do budgeting every year. We ask for budgets for different projects. So a template that allows the committee chair to plan out what they're going to go do with those budgets, itemize the budget in different line items, associate dollar amount with that, get this approved, and then more importantly, when the projects are completed, we could reconcile those and also help the auditors reconcile those. So those budgeting templates are all updated into the financial manual. Mr. President, that's the one that I would recommend that, and we'll send you the template at the medical mission project that's getting ready to launch here. Leverage that template as well for their planning. You talked about the auditors, so auditors report. This is one that, this is again, a required artifact for the association. We want to make sure that that the auditing report is succinct, and so working on a template to help facilitate the auditing report as well. Next one, the risk mitigation we talked about. So we now have a risk, based on risk mitigation analysis, engagement, we have insurance now to help. One of the biggest challenges with the association the past couple of years have been litigation. And so now the association is in a position to really defend itself with this insurance policy. And last but not least, kind of an ongoing project right now, I will put a call out to all the general membership on the call. One of the things we're trying to do is get input on how to improve Akisan's fundraising. Today, the biggest fundraising intake for the association is at the convention. I know Mr. President has done a great job of trying to raise funds all year round, look at things for the IT project, and look at the culinary projects and some of the other projects. So this is really soliciting ideas for an Akisan fundraising strategy to help the association raise funds all year round. So So those are kind of some of the updates. More details will be provided at the council meeting coming up in San Francisco. Thank you, and back over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kiko, for that presentation. As I often say, 90% of what I call friction in Akisan has to do with the way we handle our money. So if we can deal with that, then 90% of our problems go away. At least that's my opinion. So one of the things that I really dug into when I became president was streamlining and digitizing all our finances. Because as I always say, if a computer tells you you got 50 cents, it's 50 cents. It's not a cash transaction where it could be $2 as opposed to 50 cents. So by moving everything online, that also hopes to reduce or mitigate many of our money-related issues. So once again, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Engineer Kiko? If not, again, we have the chat room here. You can put it in, contact me. Most of you have my phone
I
number.
just see a handout, Mr. President, from Bassi Simon.
Yes, Mr. Simon, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the report, and I appreciate it. Obviously, this is my very first time of attending this type of meeting, and I want to say that I'm just very impressed by the decorum that I see here and what is going on. I am very encouraged to thank you, Mr. President, and your leadership team for all of the things you've done to make things run a lot smoother. So in terms of fundraising, I know as an organization, we should, maybe there are other issues, things here that I'm not aware of, but I want to find out, are there plans or things in motion for us to actually start writing grants, because we are grown enough, we've done enough projects that we could actually start focusing on those kind of things. Yes, it's a long, lengthy, and tasking project, but I think if we don't try, we don't know. There are a lot of funds out there that we could that kind of meet our needs. It could be government-related funds, it could be private foundations, but I don't know what we're doing in that area.
Thank you very much for your comments. So I guess specifically to you, but in general, if you know of any of these organizations, it's possible that we missed some of those. So like when I came in, I went through a list, contacted a lot of companies. Of course, this was during COVID, so maybe that's why the response was lax. But yeah, if anyone on this call knows of any of such organizations, whether it's government, corporation, individual, whoever, whatever, please send them to me, because I envision a time, like I tell people, where when we go to convention, we're just going there to have fun per se, right? Everything has been covered, from the projects we want to do, the expenses, all that. But yeah, I do appreciate your comments, and if you have any of such information, let me know. Thank you. I did send you a private message. If you don't mind, text me your phone number, Mr. Simon. Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau, are you back?
I don't see him online, Mr. President.
I guess I'll call him after the roadshow. So pretty much, like I said, this was going to be a short one because the first year, the first four, they were very detailed. But thanks to everyone's cooperation, chapters, individuals, national level, we got a lot done in the last 2 years. So now it's a matter of, if I call the first 2 years a foundation seed planting, we're now grooming to make sure these plants grow to maturity. So I want to thank everybody again for cooperation, your advice, your feedback, your criticisms. They all help to make us sharp, as I always like to say. Again, council meeting coming up Saturday, November 12th. If you're not able to be there in person, there will be a Zoom link provided eventually. It'll be starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That'll be noon Eastern. And if everything goes well, it shouldn't be more than 5 or 6 hours. So let me see. Thanks again for joining. May God bless everyone. Have a good remainder of the weekend, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Great meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful Saturday.
You too.
Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed Saturday. Awesome job, Mr. President and the team.